So I was about to say that I am between you and lunch, but looking into the topic, I should say AI is between you and lunch. So over last centuries, like when people think about AI, these days they all talk about ChatGPT and generative AI and all this stuff. But AI had been there, has always been there for almost like a century now, or even before. It's been evolving. The evolution of AI started around 20th century with Ada Lovelace, trying to come up with the concepts. Now, what has changed is the various aspects. Earlier we talked about in one of the session about data, and we talked about digitalization and various other things that's coming in the contours of the AI. The contours of AI is started changing over the decades. Now, there is this futuristic aspect of AI, but then the elite panel here had been working on, I would say, the most relevant and practical aspects of AI for, I think several years now. One of the theme here is, how do we take AI and then, what are all the things that we have been using, just combining AI with other technologies and several emerging technologies. It could be, digital twins, or it could be various other things where you mix up data and other channels. And how do you evolve all this into one of the most practical aspects, which is basically around automation. Automation is pretty big. And then, especially for us, it is pervasive, across, you see a cross-section of industry here all the way from, software, edge, embedded, and all that stuff. So we'll talk about a couple of use cases. I think we'll look into it. I will start with one use case that where we are using AI from an advanced automation perspective. It's we do edge-to-enterprise solutions for a utility world. We call ourselves like a utility IoT company. Now, especially we bringing automation at the edge level, where you have a lot of embedded systems. Again, we talked about earlier, the NAS and some of those areas. Similarly, on the edge level, where you have a lot of sensory things, where you have ability to think, measure, and talk. When you have those capabilities, bringing automation is a big deal. So we build, I would say, advanced automations, including AI, ML at the edge level, and then also we have some AI, ML at the cloud level. So this is one of the use cases where we are leveraging the automation. So now let's go across the panel, and then we talk about what kind of use cases that we are having in there. Probably Avirag, I'll start with you. If you can just highlight about the use case that you see that's prevalent in your space.
Sure. Thank you, Ganeshji. AI, I think all of us are using. I think use cases, if we start naming, anyone can use right from ChatGPT onward. Any problem we see today, we are able to leverage AI very effectively, right from student level to the enterprise level. We are a IT service company. We work for across the section, different vertical, telecom, banking, healthcare, manufacturing. And I see use cases across all verticals and horizontal. Some of the projects we are doing, I'll name one use case that we are implementing right now. We work for a large company back in US who provide the PCB assembly machines to manufacturer, electronic manufacturer especially. And these plants are always, very high investment plants and very manpower intensive. So right now, the whole conversion that is happening is how to leverage AI automation to really bring the cost down, manufacturing side especially. And these plants cannot really afford to go down as well. So you do a lot of AI implementation to make sure you do all the preventive maintenance. You are able to predict the machine downtime. You are able to predict when the part to be replaced from the whole life cycle data that we have. Again, automation will reduce the manpower there in the plant and bring high quality. So we are using AI effectively in manufacturing, electronic assembly line especially, to bring quality, the predictability, the predictive downtime of the machine, and when to preventive maintenance. There are enormous use cases that we can implement there. So we are implementing those in many actually plants out there. So this is one of the use cases. I have many for healthcare, etc., but I will pass on.
Sure.
Looking at the time window.
No, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Avirag. From one end, you touched upon manufacturing, so I would now kind of like, switch to Pradeep there, like, can you talk about like, what you see, you have a lot of touch points from a manufacturing perspective. So can you explain like, what use cases you are supporting?
So in manufacturing, we are deploying AI in multiple different areas. So one is computer vision, primarily used for inspection systems, and let's say for right fitment of parts. So that's one area. The other one with this Gen AI thing coming in, we are doing a lot of work in document generation as well as document comparatives, whether that is related to contract management or it might be related to, let's say, warranty analytics and other things which we are doing. The third area, we are using a lot of AI in engineering, also in engineering space, so that we can optimize the designer's time in order to reduce the design time what is required, or going through the drawings and infer certain inferences out of it. So that is another completely different area where we are working on engineering design. And the fourth phase is definitely the IoT space, where a lot of edge computing is being done to collect the data and then developing the predictive and the prescriptive analytics on top of that, so that the corrective measures can be taken.
Thanks, Pradeep. Amit, what's your take?
I think there are a lot of AI use cases which are in production. Avirag and Pradeep has already talked about. So the way we generally look at AI use cases, we divide it into three categories. We say OpEx is one cost nobody likes to spend. So how AI can optimize the OpEx. And we are working with one of our largest satellite provider, and we are optimizing the operational cost in their network operations. Things like finding a root cause of the issues, predicting the issues 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours earlier so that you can maintain your team. Some of the things like vision-based modeling we have talked about. So in a telecom, in a solar panel also, one of the utility we are working with, installation is a very crucial thing which is generally outsourced. You get a lot of issues in the installation, so we are working on a solutions where based on a computer vision, you can audit your installations for a very finer details. As good as is your fiber correctly inserted, it's not like failure or success, it's about how accurate it is. Are you getting the perfect services or not? That is our focus area in terms of AI ops, where we are focusing AI on.
Thank you, Amit. So Manish, you are again in a space where like, edge and enterprises are all coming together. So talk about the use cases that you are currently working on.
Hello, good afternoon. Yeah, so I come from Addverb, which is a leading software development and robotics company. So some of the use cases where we use AI is the robotic motion navigation, obstacle detection, again the object detection for the pick and place. We are also building quadruped, means we use AI for the natural navigation in a difficult terrain. We use AI for in the software for the planning of the task in the warehouse. Also we use AI in a difficult traffic management for the robotics. So that is, and last but not the least, we are using AI for the predictive maintenance, which is, we are manufacturing a lot of equipments or shuttle system and the robots. So we use AI for our predictive maintaining our own shuttle system and the hardware.
Thanks, Manish. So while there are like plenty of use cases, we are still scratching on the surface. I think, collectively the panelists like, have been working in their own respective areas on several use cases. Now, one of the key questions that comes up is like, is it always rosy? What do we see as the barriers of like, doing these type of automation? What does it take? So Pradeep, I'll start with you, and then, can you talk about what do you see as the barriers for like, this AI in automation?
So primarily, I see two barriers which are coming up. Now, as and when this AI is becoming more and more competitive and more powerful, it requires larger hardware in order to do the training as well as to run the AI models. Now that, in fact, is increasing the cost of AI implementation. And as a result, it is becoming a bit difficult when you work on the ROI component, because the cost of implementation is too high and you need to really pick up big use cases where it can give you the return on investment. So that's one part which is there. The other one is, from the expectation point of view, people need to understand that whatever AI model you develop and whatever training you do, it gives accuracy to a certain extent. I mean, it's, let's say, 80 to 90%. But the moment you talk to any business user, the expectation will be it has to be 100% correct. Now, that is something what is not achievable from a technology point of view, which people need to understand and need to accept it. And the third thing is, with these new models coming up, I think hallucination is something which is actually creating difficult situations in adoption, because you get different answers multiple times. So people think that the reliability on the AI system is not that great because it might be giving different answers at different point in time. So that's also is becoming a hindrance in points in times of adoption of these solutions by the business users.
Thank you, Pradeep. I'll probably go this way, and then Amit, your take on what do you think are the barriers in the networking side of it?
I think one barrier is data readiness. Whenever you talk with a customer or enterprise, they think they have a good amount of data. But what is the quality of that data? Is that data annotated? Do we know what needs to be taken out of that data? So I generally call it whether we have a ready data or not. It could be a large amount of data, but whether it is the right data or not. And what is the large amount? That is also a very big misnomer between non-tech enterprises and AI architects that is generally there. So data readiness is one of the things which I see is a big barrier. Other than this is AI skills. A lot of things have been happening around AI skills, but that is also one of a barrier currently in India.
So data is becoming, the central
Data is
point.
a bigger one, I would say, because it takes time for data to come up to a level where it can give meaningful.
But do you use any tools for cleansing the data, or do you use AI to kind of again evolve that?
It's a combination of the things that we use. We use tools for generating our synthetic data. But again, those synthetic data is generated based on the data which is already there. So that is a food for new data also. You use a lot of tools, you use a lot of partners for data annotations, data cleanup, and other part of the world. But that is a process which is there, and it takes sometimes longer than what AI engineer or AI architect spend time on and become a roadblocker.
Thank you, Amit. Manish.
Yes, so I agree with Amit, having the right set of data again is the problem. In my case also means I find a lot of incorrectly labeled data, noise in data. So choosing the right kind of data means you have to involve domain people to understand the data, to filter out those data and train the model. That is the first. Second, access of the data. Many times we don't, because of data security, because of infosec thing, you don't have the access of those data. You have to convince the client. And in my case, where most of my services are running on-premises inside the warehouse, I'm finding a lot of difficulty in having the access of data, train the right model. Third thing is having the right use case, convincing the management, justifying the ROI. So that is again the challenge. So for me, yeah.
Totally agree. I think it's always getting to prove the value of what you're trying to do is always going to be a challenge. Avirag, what's your take on the barriers that you're seeing on a regular basis?
Definitely, I think data is one of the key barriers my friends have already mentioned, and the hardware. And third barrier is, I think, people side of it. Even now when we see people readiness, knowledge, and to use the right set of data, right set of hardware is a challenge. We get a lot of data from all different sources. Do we have people who can handle the data rightly? Do they clean it? The knowledge base of the people are still not up to that level. So finding the right talent, training them, nurturing them still is a challenge. Absolutely. We look at the college outs, they are just not there. A lot of senior folks are there, but we have to bring that knowledge to masses. That, I think, availability is still a question today.
So we are looking into barriers, it's multifaceted. And especially from our point of view, from Landis+Gyr side, again, a lot of this cross-section is true, because in order to get the advanced automation done, we need to invest a lot in terms of the GPUs. And again, you need to be prepared. When you're going into this advanced automation journey, there should be commitment from the management for whatever you're trying to accomplish. It's a long journey. You cannot get overnight results. And then you need to have the right people doing the right things, and you need to have the right environment and setup. Now, coming back, I think you touched upon a very important aspect, which is people. So I want to focus next two topics, it's a two-part thing. One is, a lot of times, they say AI is going to eliminate a lot of jobs. It's going to have a big impact on people. On the other hand, we are saying that okay, we don't have the right people doing the right thing. So there is a gap in skills and capabilities across the board. So it's a two-part question. So what is the impact on the people? And what are the kind of skills and capabilities that we need so the industry can flourish, you know?
You see, when we talk about AI will eliminate job, if I go back some 20 years again, banking, there was a lot of automation in India. And that time, all the banks and all the bank employees were talking, the bank staff will get redundant. But number of bank staff have gone up, automation has gone up, efficiencies has come in. If that automation is not there, all of us will be queued in some bank and we will not be able to serve. AI is only going to bring a lot of efficiency, automation, and people will be more effectively used. But people have to be skilled to do that. If you are not skilled, you don't know how to use, how to leverage, obviously you will not be in demand. So for one to remain relevant, everyone should learn it as a user or as an engineer to really deploy it rightly. I do not see a lot of people will get redundant. If they learn enough, they will not be. If they do not learn, they will be outdated. And then there is a challenge.
Absolutely.
We have to learn. If we stop learning, we'll be outdated and we'll be out.
Manish, what's your take on, like, you know, both these aspects, like, you know, in terms of people and also, like, you know, what kind of skills capability gaps you see?
Okay, so with every industrial revolution, like some job disappeared, but at the same time, new opportunity came up. So I'm from the automation, and when we started automation 6 years back, people in India told us, like, okay, so how this is going to replace the human? If this is going to replace the human, means a lot of human job will go away. But at the end of in the last 6 years, what I see, like a lot of new opportunity came up in the warehouse automation. So this AI will definitely affect the job, repetitive job, those jobs will go away, but at the same time, it will complement some of the tasks and also create the new opportunities like annotation of data, machine learning, domain expert around AI, that is the thing. And about the skill, what I'll speak about, like both technical and non-technical skills are required. Python, C++, some of the key technology, understanding of neural networks, good in mathematics algorithm, those stuffs are required. Understanding the algorithm like CNN and RNN. And also non-technical skill like having the good analytical skill and also the domain expert. So what we do currently, like we create the data set just for one business, we train the model in that business, and we run the model for that specific business, and those data are created by the domain expert. Those data are leveled by the domain experts. So those are the areas, I think so.
Thank you, Manish. Amit, what do you think?
I think I agree with what Manish said. A lot of routine and mundane job will be the lowest hit job category by AI. I will be very frank about this because when we sell AI, we generally say how much saving it will bring in on the table, what type of ROI will come out. So when we are saying ROI, it's going to optimize the effort, it's going to have some impact on the repetitive job. But at the same time, we need to see that how the efficiency will impact the overall ecosystems. If the manufacturing systems becomes much more optimized, the manufacturing sectors will grow, and that's going to inherently generate much more job than it's the job which are going to get hit by AI. So it is more of a way you look at it is getting more efficient and be more productive and do something better than the routine mundane job. So that's how I see it. And primarily other than the technical skills which Manish talked about to be an AI engineer, I think everybody, even kids these days use ChatGPT for their homeworks. Similarly, everybody in their segment will have some sort of a co-pilot analyzing and supporting them to be more efficient.
Pradeep, your take.
Yeah. So since I come from an automotive industry background, I'll take that example. So when the automotive actually started coming in, it replaced the bullock carts, right? Now in bullock cart also we used to reach from place A to place B, but with automotive we reach from A to B in a much faster way. And that is what exactly is the impact of AI coming in, that it is aiding to do things faster in whatever we have been doing in the past. So it's really giving birth to a new industry. I think the way it happened when the IT industry was coming up, the people had similar apprehensions. Now, definitely we have done away with sending a letter through a post office, but it got replaced with an email. But that replacement of an email actually gave birth to so many data centers, so many servers to be managed, and a whole lot of IT industry to come into existence for providing services. So that's how it will evolve, and probably it will bring up a different industry sector in totality. What will be required is more of reskilling yourself. What skills might be relevant today might not be relevant later. So that is where I think the skilling part also comes in, where we see a lot of skills required for the AI understanding, then mathematical and statistical modeling and understanding of that. In the morning we heard about prompt engineering. I think that is also coming up a big way. And definitely the hardware aspect of it, because a lot of things are going to move to edge computing. So as and when this happens, the connectivity and the edge computing is also going to take a prevalent pace. So that is where in these areas, a lot of reskilling might be required.
Absolutely, thank you, thank you. So overall, so if you look at it, like, I think there's an industry that is growing, and then at the same time, we also have challenges in terms of getting the right talent, because people come in, but then you need a lot of core skills, which basically is like beyond what people are learning today. So I think, I mean, again, I see a lot of, industry, groups here, and then through nasscom also we are doing a lot of like, industry academia connect. I think this is the area where I think collectively as an industry, we should focus on like, the areas where we are seeing as gaps, and then try to like, feed that back into the academia, and then see that like, whether they can build that. I mean, again, everybody is doing different types of activities with like, some form of fashion with academia. I think that's an opportunity for us to like, considering the future in mind, we need to go back and feed back to say that like, we need people with very core fundamental foundational knowledge around these areas, and also like, bridge some of the skill gap, because at some point of time, I think, the loss of people with certain mundane skills will be a gain in terms of people having specialized skills. So that's the industry that we have to build up. Now, having said that, now we want to pivot in terms of like, how do we see the future? It's like, what is it going to be like, what is the future? Like, okay, we have come a long way over several decades, like, where AI started evolving. Now, what does the future hold? Avirag, any take?
Yeah, thank you. I think what we have seen so far is tip of the iceberg. If we look at what is done is very little in the AI or automation space so far. And I see definitely, we work with a lot of clients, a lot of industry. Everyone is moving towards. I think there is a lot of growth, both for industry, businesses, and people. I think next 5 years, not 10 years, I will say now, whatever we are doing today, we will do very differently down the line. And there is a lot of growth opportunities, both for industry, businesses, and individuals. The sky is the limit. If you have the right skill, you deploy it rightly, you use it rightly, I think one can really make use of it.
Absolutely. No, thank you, Amit. Pradeep, your take in terms of what the future holds.
A lot of advancement has definitely happened in the field of AI. But as we see, there's a narrow AI. We are still in that phase. And then there is generalized AI, where we have to migrate. But that's a big journey which has to still happen. I mean, even with this advent of ChatGPT and other things, what we see, though it works like a human, it looks like as a human is giving the answers, but at the end, at the back end, if you see, it's all pattern matching and logic what is working at the back end. It doesn't understand, the machine doesn't understand what it is saying. A human understands, but that understanding is not there in the machine, which is going to come up in the later phase. And then the emotions and other things also, a lot of research work I think is going on in those directions. So those are some of the areas where a lot of advancements can come, where actually it will take it to a generalized AI path. But I think it will take some time to reach to that level.
Thank you, Pradeep. Amit, your take.
Yeah, I agree that we have just seen the tip of the iceberg, but in terms of our future, let me just take a different path that as an ecosystem, there's a lot to happen while we start adopting and taking AI for our mission critical things. I happens to be a part of our DRDO AI committee, where we are working on defining their AI verification and validation standards, because currently there are no validation and verification standards, which can give you the confidence that on our mission critical things like defense, you can deploy AI. So a lot of technological growth will happen in terms of AI and the supported ecosystem to give you that trust that, okay, AI is usable for critical things also.
Absolutely. Thank you, Amit. Manish, your take.
Yeah. So I think like, okay, AI in India is just 5 years, 6 years old, and we have achieved very little. So some of the area where I think it will have the huge impact, one is the healthcare, where diagnosis of any disease will be very, very easy. In finance domain, it will have big impact where fraud detection or trading will be automated. Fraud detection will be very easy. Army or the defense is the one area where people say that in next 10 years, a robot will be fighting. AI-enabled robot will be fighting the war. So that is one of the area. And people are working towards that, I can tell you. And then the robotic industry, again, will have the huge impact. AI will have the huge impact on that. Customer service is one area where I see, when we are using that, we have started using that for the customer service, where you just ask the question and they will do all the technical stuff and reply you in a plain text mode. The vision-based system, again, will have the huge impact. AI will have huge impact.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Manish. So basically, the context where we are in is like, if you go back and look back 2 decades back, people didn't have mobile phones and the cellular industry was in the very infancy stages. And today everybody has a cell phone, and then it's become a lowest common denominator, for everybody. At the end of the day, you cannot see anybody without a phone, and it is penetrated a lot. Same happened with the entire digitalization journey. Decades back, people were not into the digital era, but then now everybody has gone into the digital. So now the question of to AI or not to AI is not there anymore. Probably a decade from now, AI will be ingrained in part of anything and everything that we do. But the shape and form of how we do things, how we leverage it to certain practical use cases and how to make our lives easier in some parts, that's basically the continuous journey that we are evolving. Having said that, I think, we had a great panel. Thanks for all your thoughts and opinions. I want to thank nasscom for setting up the context here, in terms of the technology confluence. I think it's a great forum for us to come together, share the thoughts, ideas, and then again take back and again spread it across in wherever the aspects that we are working on. Having said that, I think I will wrap the session up here, and then we will have a few minutes for some of the questions from the audience.
Interesting perspectives from all the panelists. Thank you for that. I was particularly intrigued by Dr. Chatterjee's comment on how bullock carts were replaced by automotives and how it made our lives easier. But it's not a question for anyone, but just a follow-up thought which came to my mind, that all this while we were all happy to change the shift from bullock carts to automotives, and not just in bullock carts, but also in field works, they were all replaced by tractors. No one thought about what happened with bullocks. We have not seen those bullocks driving cars. They have vanished. And it's a problem somewhere in our world, but no one is recognizing that. To further aggravate the problem, we have now drivers which will soon be replaced by driverless cars. So we will have more humans joining those bullocks. So I think this is also an important perspective. While we may continue to say we are getting more efficient and effective, but at the same time we are making a large chunk of our population redundant. And I'm not sure how practical is it to expect to convert that operational population into a strategic population, which we often hear.
Very well said. Some of the points, again, collectively we need to solve this as a community. Again, this is not a technology problem. This is more of a social problem. Again, this is the law of conservation of skills. A lot of times I think, you talked about an example of certain mundane skills going away, but they are getting upskilled there. But at the same time, we need to think about, some of the other aspects of the residues of technology. In one of the places I talked about, when we talk about technology, we leave residues. Today, not just AI. When we talk about electronics, we created so much of residual electronic parts here, we don't know how to recycle that. Batteries, we created so much of batteries, we don't know how do we dispose of the hazardous. So every technology has certain residual effect that as a society we have to work it. Do we have the answers to all of them? May not. But in the long run, I think we should be able to think together. I think all the people are aware of the problem challenges, but then collectively we have to figure it out. Any take?
See, I'll just say that that's the question where the reskilling actually comes in. Even again, I did the IT industry example. Now, prior to these workflows coming in, there were peons in the office, right, who used to take file from one table to another. With workflow, those peons also got away. But then those data centers came into existence. Now, even if this peon is not becoming very highly educated, but at least he can get a job in a data center. He can become a guard in a data center. He can look after the servers, aspects, and other things. I mean, there are a lot of other skills which will be required, and he needs to reskill himself. So same thing will happen with the driver also. He needs to reskill with the new environment.
My question is here, we talk about AI/ML, right? But we don't talk about RPA. Without RPA, I don't think AI/ML is complete. I just want to know from the you panels and from the nasscom, what are the steps we are having for hyper-automation? Because hyper-automation is a combination of artificial intelligence, machine learning, plus robotic process automation. So my question, why we are not promoting hyper-automation, only AI/ML, right? So what are the steps nasscom is taking to promote hyper-automation? That is my question.
Then I probably, again, I will leave it to some of the people who are really working on some of the RPA models and all that stuff here. But I think, for me, it is implicit. That's the reason, we are not explicitly calling that out. But for me, I think, the process automation is very basic and ingrained and foundational for all of this that's happening in there. Avirag, your take?
You said very well. I think RPA is one of the implementation of AI. In RPA also, you automate things, you use your data that comes through the model, you apply intelligence to really use right RPA. RPA, let's say, if you use for software testing, if you do not have the right use cases, you can't generate, you can't apply automation testing using RPA. So this is implicit. RPA is a use case for AI, I guess. And you can, if you look at it today in medical transcription or revenue cycle management, so many applications everywhere. You are using RPA. Speech analytics, we are doing a project for speech analytics where, you get 100,000 calls which are getting recorded, you do the quality checks, you have, alert and all that. It's all using AI and RPA, the combo of the two. All the RPA vendor, UiPath or automation anywhere, they have a AI engine inside built to really support. The two go hand in hand.
I think just to add, and the question related to hyper-automation is, we are in an era where we are generating confidence in AI. If you go to a bank and say, okay, all the entries will be intelligently done by an AI agent, most of us will say no. Even as an AI engineer, we will say, oh, I don't have that much trust to manage my money automatically. And once that trust start coming, AI will becoming a main force in a hyper-automation also from our rule-governed systems.
One more thing, we are having 3 tools, right? ChatGPT. I use all 3, ChatGPT, Copilot, and Gemini. And we are not having a correct answer, like 245 and 254. When I was going to the Gemini, it was going 245. So, as per the nasscom, and it's a national association for the companies, right, software companies. So, is there any plan we are having, right, in the future, so we can do some data redundancy and whatever the issues we are facing as a user, so we can get the correct data. So what are the plans you guys are having?
So yeah, I'll speak about this because I have faced such problem. Because one model you are generating cannot be applicable for everywhere, right? So I was talking about the domain expert. This is the region they will help you to choose the right set of data, help you to train the right model for the right application. And that is where you have to collect the right data. You understand the use case. Like you are generating the code through our software through the Copilot. In that case, also you need expert engineer who will verify the output of those AI. So certainly you need expert, definitely domain expert, the engineering expert to validate those data. But again, most of the things will be automated.